It all began when the Goblin Chief died. Two soldiers who were present at the time of his death immediately began to fight over who would inherit the chief's weapon. One of them, enraged, leapt at the other who was holding the chief's club, declaring himself the new leader. Being the two strongest goblins in the tribe, their battle drew the attention of the others, who gathered around, cheering and shouting as the two exchanged punches and bites. While the goblins were distracted by the fight, one of them suddenly remembered something. The chief had left a few captives alive. A few goblins decided to retrieve them, but then stopped, remembering that the guardian of the prisoners was due to return soon. And to everyone's surprise, the so-called guardian appeared. But he wasn't like the others. This goblin looked different. Taller, cleaner, more composed, and the way he dressed made him look almost human. The crowd fell silent as he passed, muttering about how odd he seemed. Still intent on finding the captives, the goblins decided to follow him. One goblin mentioned that some of the strongest in the tribe had already gone ahead to get the captives, and once a fight broke out, they'd take their chance. Hearing this, the guardian young man in goblin form grew anxious. He rushed toward the source of distant cries for help, terrified of what the others might be doing. He soon reached the cave where the screams were coming from and saw goblins surrounding a young woman. One of the goblins was staring at her with unnerving intensity. The woman, overwhelmed by fear, screamed and begged for help, thinking this was the end. The guardian, our protagonist, had no intention of hurting her. He ordered the goblins to let her go. Surprisingly, the group leader complied, telling the young man that since the chief was dead, the captive now belonged to him. But then, in a turn of events, the strongest goblin threatened the young man. If he tried to take the woman, there would be consequences. The leader shouted to the others to attack the guardian and kill him. The goblins obeyed, ambushing him all, at once. Desperate and overwhelmed, our boy couldn't believe he might die at the hands of such lowly monsters. But as the will to live kicked in, something changed. Drawing a hidden knife, he stabbed one of his attackers, instantly killing him. The rest recoiled in fear. Determined to survive, the young man showed that he wouldn't go down easily. Panicked, the goblins began to flee. One of them screamed for the others to run. The guardian had a weapon. Exhausted but victorious, the boy scared them off. The girl, saved from becoming a hostage, tearfully thanked her rescuer. But the guardian, too weak to stand, collapsed. The girl begged him not to die, pleading with him to protect her. Moved by her words, the protagonist began to reflect. Suddenly, a screen appeared in front of his eyes. The system had activated. His name? Lin Chon. He had reincarnated as a goblin after being run over by a truck. The system screen showed only basic stats, no fancy powers or perks. But after what the girl said, Lin began to better understand the strange world he'd been reborn into, a world created by gods and filled with powerful monsters. In this world, humans had carved their place through sheer strength. Unfortunately, goblins, especially the one he had become, were at the very bottom, filthy, weak, and easily killed. Even among goblins, his stats were pitiful. Then Lin remembered something important. In this world, goblins could grow stronger by creating new life, that is, through mating and reproducing. But he had no females. That's why the goblins kidnapped human women. Disgusted by the idea, Lin said that he used to be human, and that becoming stronger in such a way was despicable. The girl interrupted him. After spending days with her guardian, she said she knew he was different and she didn't want to go back to living with those goblins. Lin was shocked. She continued. When the night order came to rescue her, she would tell them he had saved her. Then perhaps they'd let him live in the village. But Lin's hope was short-lived. He sensed something terrible. The goblins were coming back to reclaim the girl. He told her to hide and readied himself for another battle. Sure enough, a deranged goblin came charging in, shrieking like it had drunk spoiled milk. Determined to protect the girl, Lin struck it down with his knife. Then, the boy told the girl that the humans had finally arrived to rescue her. She lit up with hope, convinced it was the sacred order. But as Lin followed, he stopped cold. A powerful human was effortlessly killing goblins with a single blow. Lin was amazed. He'd never seen anyone this strong. But this hero wasn't there to save anyone. He was enraged that his uniform had been torn. Lin saw the man's stats and was stunned. This guy, Lower, was a monster in human form. The girl ran. To him, calling him captain, relieved. But Lin, still cautious, noticed something horrifying. Lower wasn't there to save her. He was about to kill her. Lin moved fast, grabbing the girl and pushing her out of harm's way. Confused, he asked himself why the Sacred Order would come, if not to rescue captives. Lower, annoyed that a goblin dodged his strike, called it a disgrace. The girl, as promised, told Lower that Lin had protected her, but Lower exploded with rage, thinking she was lying and mocking him. He raised his sword, ready to finish her. Lin intervened again, urging her to flee and showing her a safe path. Without thinking, Lin attacked Lower with just a club. Then, from the darkness, a brilliant light merged. A woman's voice rang out, telling Lower to wait. Lin stood wide-eyed, a magical shield protecting him. A powerful mage appeared, accompanied by an army of knights. She told the captain that this goblin seemed unusual. The girl fell to her knees and called the mage Holy Maiden, begging for protection. The maiden asked Lin if he could understand her. Hopeful, he replied that he could. This was Afreya, a renowned spokesperson of the temple, and Lin believed this was his chance. He told her everything, that he was once human, reincarnated. After an accident, Lower commented that Lin seemed smarter than the others. The mage agreed, perhaps this goblin was a gift from the Sacred Mother. Afra asked the girl, Kelia, if Lin had hurt her. She responded, no, he protected me and gave me food. Impressed, the maiden said they would take Lin to the village, to study him further. With a calm smile, she asked if he'd come willingly. Seeing no other choice, Lin agreed. Freed from the shield, Linan felt hopeful. Someone would finally listen. As they left the cave, Afrey ordered Lower to follow. Walking beside his rescuers, Lin thanked the maiden, promising to repay her kindness. But suddenly, disaster. Out of nowhere, Lower stabbed Kelia in the stomach. Lin turned just in time to see her collapse. His heart shattered. There she lay lifeless, betrayed by the one she thought would save her. Lin, in his goblin body, stared in disbelief as the girl he tried to protect was murdered. The Holy Maiden, her smile, now twisted and cold, looked at him and said, when they finally reach the village, she jokes that he better reward her properly. A week later, the church bell rings throughout the village, summoning the citizens. Standing beside the Holy Maiden, Lower gives a passionate speech, claiming that the recent goblin attack caused massive damage. The captain solemnly reports that the goblins used stealth tactics and brutally massacred 30 villagers. Outraged, the people begin shouting that goblins are despicable, declaring them mortal enemies of humankind. Using images of the deceased, Lower claims the Sacred Order, in the name of the temple, has purified the goblins and avenged the fallen. Taking center stage, the Holy Maiden urges the villagers to keep praying devoutly to the temple. Backing her up, the mage promises that the temple will always protect its faithful. The villagers begin praising the Sacred Order as heroes. Then we cut to a dark lab that looks like a mix between a sorcerer's den and a mad scientist's workshop. The Holy Maiden smugly remarks that the sermon was a success and that the villagers remain foolish. Ephes adds that now they'll pray even harder and offer even more tributes. We finally see what happened to Linen. He's imprisoned, muzzled, and calling out for the mage. The Holy Maiden looks at him without a shred of compassion. Our boy is now missing an eye, seething with rage. He calls Afra a wretch. Looking over the wounded prisoner, Afra says she's impressed he's still alive. She thinks that's precisely why the temple hasn't been able to fully wipe out the goblins, because of their stubborn vitality. She decides to inject Linen with a more potent poison to observe the effects. Our boy, unable to bear the endless torture, starts to break down. He remembers how the Sacred Order deceived everyone and killed Kelia. In desperation, he asks the Holy Maiden if this is what they call human justice. In response, a tree branch magically strikes his chin. Coldly, the Holy Maiden scorns him for daring to question human justice, calling him a weak, despicable creature. Nia reveals her true colors, declaring that goblins are insects, and speaking to one is already a huge favor. She casts a spell on Linon, saying he should be grateful to contribute his body to human experiments. She activates a magic circle that starts draining his energy. Our boy is almost powerless to resist. As his body deteriorates, he starts blaming himself for being naive enough to hold on to human compassion, even after reincarnating as a goblin. He had believed people would be just. He recalls how, after being taken to the village, Lower and Afra tortured him relentlessly, ignoring every word he said. Eventually, Linon couldn't endure it any longer. The Holy Maiden kills him in cold blood. As he crosses over into death, Linon bitterly thinks, If I could try again, I'd never trust humans. I'd crush their bones instead. Suddenly, something unexpected happens. While he's thinking about reincarnation, a system activates, the Goblin life simulation. Linon wonders if he's still alive. To his shock, the system asks if he wants to reincarnate. He quickly realizes this must be a personal system that only activates after death. Amazed, he learns that he can reincarnate, but as a low-level goblin, and he'll return to a week before with all his current memories. This is the second chance he desperately wished for. Ecstatic and burning with thoughts of revenge, Linon selects yes. The system begins rebooting the goblin life. The boy is fueled by fury and betrayal, more determined than ever to take down Lower and Afra. He also learns the system slightly strengthened him. Even if small, he says, it's better than nothing. The system warns him, if he dies again, resurrection won't be possible. However, it offers a new ability. He can simulate future events every 24 hours, earning points and exploring different outcomes. With those points, he can buy items from an exchange shop. Pumped up, Linon immediately starts the life simulation. He's given 3 escape options: warn the other goblins and fight Lower together. Reward, 10 points. Abandon the others and escape solo. Reward, 5 points. Hide in the cave and pray not to be found. Reward, 0 points. Linon analyzes the first option, but doubts the goblins can defeat Lower. Still, he decides to test all simulations to gather points. In the first test, he and the goblins are easily wiped out, but he earns 10 points. Realizing he can't rely on the others, he opens the exchange shop. Most weapons cost too much, except for one, a light and fast elven dagger, costing exactly 10 points. It grants plus 110% speed and plus 115% strength. Perfect. Our boy grabs the weapon, saying it's sharp enough to kill with a hit to a vital point. Worried about Kelia, he asks the system why she didn't appear in the simulation. It explains that timeline. Changes occurred. In this new life, Kelia was never captured by goblins. She's safe and living peacefully in the village. Linon is genuinely happy. He fulfilled his promise to protect her. Now he can focus on revenge. Determined, he heads for the cave's exit where the guards are weakest. One of them is complaining about hating goblins. The other tells him to chill. It's an easy job. Linon overhears their conversation and realizes Lower's mission is to eliminate all the kidnapped girls. The Sacred Order is planning a mass execution to cover their tracks. Seeing this, Linon becomes even more certain his revenge is justified. If they do this to humans, what chance does a goblin have? He prepares a trap, mimicking a girl's voice and calling for help. The soldier falls for it, thinking a captive is escaping. With a smug smile, he tells her to come out. It's safe. Big mistake. Linon ambushes him with the elven dagger, fueled by pure hatred. The blade strikes true, and the soldier collapses in pain. The second guard approaches, unaware of what's happened. Linon, grinning and focused, attacks. The guard barely has time to react. Linon strikes him hard in the face, sending him to the ground. Without hesitation, the boy leaps and slashes with the deadly dagger, landing a deep cut. Terrified, the injured guard begs for mercy. Realizing Linon understands human speech, he pulls out a photo of his family, pleading, "They're waiting for me, please." The guard says that our boy is very intelligent and is just following the sacred ORD's commands. The soldier then tries to gain the boy's trust by saying he would give him gold and fresh young women, all while planning to draw his weapon and attack. Thinking our boy was distracted by his promises, the guard, like a treacherous rat, attacks him, calling him a stupid beast. However, to the soldier's surprise, something unexpected happens. Using all his agility and his powerful dagger, our boy strikes the treacherous rat before he can even reach him. Then, our boy begins the first part of his revenge. He is truly determined to take full advantage of his last chance at reincarnation in this world where humans once betrayed him. Our boy is becoming more confident that his revenge will succeed. Next, our boy hears Lower's voice nearby. Believing the captain is coming to capture him, he starts putting his plan into action and decides to take the guard's clothes. Leaving the scene holding the soldier's outfit in his hand, our boy says that soon he will find Lower and Afra. At that moment, the captain and the Holy Maiden arrive at the place where the guards were defeated by our boy. Lower wonders if it's possible the goblins killed those soldiers. Afra believes that a little monster capable of defeating 2 guards might be a mutant. The captain replies to his ally that if this is true, and the information spreads throughout the village, the consequences could be catastrophic. Stepping on the guard, Lower shows his fury, saying that he is useless for failing to defeat a single goblin. Meanwhile, the sadistic Afria becomes excited, imagining that it could be a mutant, little monster. With a dark look and seemingly excited by the idea of it being a different goblin, the Holy Maiden says that if they manage to capture him, she will have a lot of fun with it. At this moment, we see the forest where our boy managed to escape. He feels relieved, seeing that finally his plan is working, and he managed to escape from that cave. While eating, our boy says he will deal with his enemies the goblin way, using ferocity to strengthen his stats and increase his influence. With a dark look and filled with rage, our boy says that in this life he will make every man's only. Desire be death, and every woman desire him and cry at his feet. Observing the bushes moving, our boy wonders if Lower and his group haven't given up on capturing him. At that moment, he sees a hooded figure emerging from behind the bushes. Quickly, our boy attacks the intruder to avoid giving them a chance to counterattack. Startled by the boy, the person stumbles over a rock. Our boy is surprised to see that it's a goblin. He cannot believe what he's witnessing. He becomes even more incredulous upon realizing that this goblin can speak and express itself like him. The boy then decides not to lower his guard, as it's an intruder who was hiding. Then something surprises our boy even more. He wonders why that goblin has feminine features, given that they are only males, and that's why they can only reproduce with other species. Frightened by our boy, the female goblin pleads for him not to hurt her, saying she was only there to fetch water. This makes our boy suspicious. He begins to wonder how it's possible for a little monster to speak complete sentences. At that moment, he views the status of the strange girl and sees that if a male mates with a female of the same species, he will become a goblin god. The boy is amazed to realize that mating with the girl would be the perfect opportunity to become strong enough to face his enemies. Desperate and fearing for her life, the girl tells our boy that she was sent by her boss to fetch water, and if she doesn't return with what he asked for, she will be beaten until she is killed. Next, the girl is surprised to see that a goblin is talking to her and calming her down. Our boy tells the girl that if she keeps crying, she will attract Lower and his group to them. At that moment, the astonished girl asks the boy if he can speak like her. He replies that he can. Our boy recalls that goblins don't speak coherently, which is why the girl didn't talk much with the members of her tribe. Grateful, the girl tells the boy that he is very kind, and that little monsters usually hit and insult her. She asks if he wants to go with her to the village. Once again, our boy sees another opportunity to strengthen himself. He is excited by the information and asks the girl if there really is a goblin tribe nearby. Cautious, our boy is unsure if Lower and his group are still following him. Prioritizing finding a safe place, he believes it's not the best time. However, continuing with his revenge plan and seeking to grow stronger, our boy tells the girl that he will accompany her to her goblin village. Focused on his goals, our boy says he was worried about where he could find subordinates to recruit and asks the girl to take him to her tribe. At that moment, we see the village the girl had mentioned. Upon seeing a stranger approaching, the goblins become curious, watching from a distance. Then, irrationally, the little monsters start mocking our boy's clothes for being dressed like a human and call him a strange creature. Our boy sees a good opportunity to start his revenge plans with that tribe. Determined to gain the goblins' trust, he says he is there to join them and asks to speak with the leader. Next, the little monsters mock our boy, saying that the chief isn't someone he can just meet whenever he wants. Annoyed, the boy's new friend yells at the goblins, saying that the boy isn't a bad person and asks them not to act rashly. At that moment, someone asks why the whole tribe is gathered in one place making all that noise. Our boy becomes excited when he sees that the goblin chief has finally appeared. The leader arrives, furious, asking who was making all that noise in his tribe. Our boy quickly checks the stats of the little monster's leader. He seems surprised after seeing the leader's stats, realizing there is a high-level goblin in that tribe. At that moment, the chief asks the girl if she brought the stranger. The girl replies that she brought the boy to the village because he had nowhere else to go. Next, the leader is very pleased and thanks the girl. Surprisingly, the chief then orders the goblins to finish off our boy and eat him, leaving the girl desperate as the little monsters advance toward him. Quickly, our boy draws his dagger. He shows his knife to the leader and the goblins, saying that he knows how to make weapons like that, and that if they let him join the tribe, he could make them all stronger. Interested in what the boy just said, the chief orders them not to attack. Next, the leader walks toward our boy. Ambitious and thinking of getting stronger, the chief says our boy doesn't seem to be lying, and asks him what kind of weapons he knows how to make. Putting his plan into action, our boy tells the leader that if they find ore, he can make simple iron weapons and, with time, create something more powerful. To convince him, our boy tells the chief that with those daggers, They could defeat monsters and even humans. After his statements, all the goblins become happy, saying they'll have meat and won't need to hide in the forest anymore, and that they prefer fresh elves for their meals. Ambitious, the leader tells the boy that he will give him a chance and orders them to find iron ore quickly to make the weapons. If our boy fails, he will be finished. Pointing to the girl, the chief says that she will go with him. Linen's grip tightened around the girl as the harsh words of the tribe's leader echoed in their ears. The old man was ruthless. He would spare no one, not even his own companions if they failed their mission. Linen knew he had to act quickly. "We'll need to craft weapons," he whispered to the girl, "to buy time and grow stronger." With resolve burning in his chest, Linen set off toward his goal, flanked by a handful of goblins and his new companion. Their task was clear: find iron. But the journey was far from easy. After hours of trudging through the dense forest, the girl's exhaustion became apparent. "Wait," she pleaded. "I'm too tired to go on." Irritated, one of the small goblins kicked her harshly. Another sneered, "Ugly and weak. If you don't find the iron, I'll finish you myself." The female goblin snapped at the girl to stop complaining. The others joined in, taunting her with cruel laughter, threatening to end her if she failed. Before the abuse could escalate, Linen hurled a rock at one of the tormentors, striking his head with precision. "I brought you here to find iron, not to fight," he scolded firmly. The goblins sneered but grudgingly backed off, their fear of Linen's dagger evident. "We've been told if we don't obey, we'll be finished," Linen warned, his voice cold. The little monsters trembled, retreating from the girl. Linen's heart ached as he glanced at her, recalling a rare truth. If a male goblin mates with a female of his kind, he becomes a legendary divine goblin. Seeing her fear, he gently wiped away her tears. "Don't cry, Moon." He stepped closer and took her face in his hands. "Stay with me," he said softly. "I'll protect you, feed you, give you a warm place. You won't be hurt anymore." Determined, Linen confessed. "I always keep my promises, but right now we're too weak. Help me get stronger." Moon's eyes widened, hope flickering. "How can we improve?" she asked. "If you help me," Linen explained, "I'll fulfill my promise and protect you." Moon hesitated, shy and uncertain. "I've never been with a male before." Linen smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry. I'll take care of everything." Then, without warning, Linen leaned in and kissed Moon. He grasped her hands, their moment tender and full of hope. They did what needed to be done, and immediately, a system notification buzzed in Linen's mind. They would have 7 children, raising his level cap. His stats surged, +9 attack, +100 health, and +10 defense. Linen felt his body change. Stronger, more muscular, he flexed, amazed at the transformation. "Not only have I leveled up," he said with a grin, "I've changed physically. Now we stand a real chance against the Goblin Priest." He shed the clothes that no longer fit and turned to comfort Moon. "You're with me now," he promised, "and I'll protect you." Moon looked up at him, eyes soft and loving. "You're gentle." Their peaceful moment was shattered by distant cries, goblins screaming for help. A massive magical wolf burst from the trees, clutching a small goblin in its jaws. Linen's heart pounded. The goblins had found iron, but trouble had come with it. "Wait here," Linen told Moon, then sprinted toward the beast. With swift, precise movements, he struck the wolf's neck with his dagger, saving the goblin. The wolf collapsed, and Linen absorbed its magical power. He congratulated the goblin who had found the ore. "The material is good," Linen said. "Find more. When you return, we'll forge weapons." The group returned triumphant, and Linen crafted a spear from the iron. Demonstrating its power by defeating beasts, he presented the weapon to the tribe's leader and the goblins. Excited, one goblin, stronger and more confident after the hunt, told the tribe of Linen's victory over the magical wolf. To gain their trust, Linen raised the spear high. "Do you want this powerful weapon?" he asked. A resounding cheer erupted, but the chief was wary. Striking his staff on the ground, he challenged Linen. To stay, he must produce 50 more spears in just 2 days, an almost impossible feat. The goblins grumbled, mocking him, calling him weak compared to humans. Linen's plan was working. Against all odds, Linen delivered the spears on time. The chief, surprised, praised him again. The priest declared a feast, and the goblins rejoiced in the abundance of meat. Lua, a goblin girl, handed Linen a piece of roasted meat, the priest's special offering. Linon accepted gratefully but soon began to choke, his body reacting badly. Lua's face filled with concern as the chief approached, a sinister smile playing on his lips. "Foolish to trust me," he sneered, accusing Linon of ambition and treason. He gripped Lua, threatening to kill her to teach Linon a lesson. But Linon, weakened but unyielding, suddenly struck the chief's arm, stunning everyone. The chief's arrogance faded into fear. "How?" he gasped. Linon mocked him, revealing he had anticipated the poison and played along. Enraged, the chief charged, but Linon dodged with agility, landing a decisive blow that severed the leader's head. The reign of terror was over. The goblins panicked, unsure what came next. Linon stepped forward, commanding their attention. "From now on, I am your leader," he declared, raising his dagger. "We will strike the elves and humans. Under my leadership, you will never lack for meat." The goblins erupted in cheers. Linon pointed to the fallen chief's body. "Celebrate," he ordered. The hungry goblins descended on their former leader, devouring him ravenously. Linon smiled coldly. Conquering this tribe was only the beginning. Next, we make the elves breed stronger warriors for us. Hidden in the bushes, a beautiful elf princess watched. Her eyes widened at the sight of the fallen goblin chief and the new leader's rise. Back in the Elven Kingdom, the princess reported urgently to her mother, the queen. But the queen was distracted, flirting with her suitors, dismissing the goblin threat as trivial. The princess insisted on the danger, telling of the mysterious young man who had slain the goblin leader and the ominous signs in the eastern magical forest. The queen's arrogance masked her concern. Arrogantly, the queen orders her daughter to take some elf soldiers and organize an operation to deal with any possible danger. She tells her not to kill them all at once. While stroking a male elf, the seductive and beautiful elf leader tells Kasana that goblin hearts are valuable ingredients for potions used by their tribe. Embarrassed by her mother again, the princess replies that she understands the importance of keeping some little monsters alive. The mischievous queen then tells her daughter she has worked hard lately and will reward her with an elf to satisfy her, or if she prefers, she can choose even more. Extremely embarrassed, the princess leaves the room saying she will investigate during the night and report back if anything happens. Planning the attack on the goblins using branches as reference points, they create a map and inform Lennon that the Forest of 1,000 Wonders has around 30 treehouses. Pleased with the good work of his best soldier, the new leader says that when they conquer the elves, he will be rewarded with 2 elf girls, making him euphoric. Excited by the chief's promises, Lennon's right-hand man informs him that he will order the others to prepare their weapons. Then the new tribe leader begins executing his attack strategies based on information provided by his right-hand man. Linon calculates that there are 2 elves in each house, and a total of 70, including 10 who are in the mines. To make his tribe stronger, our boy tells the goblins that from now on, they will hunt in the magical forest, making everyone jump for joy. This way, Linon is able to increase his attributes more quickly and gain a wider variety of skills. Likewise, the goblins become stronger by carrying out hunts in the magical forest tirelessly. Lua and Lintishan hunted magical monsters, accumulating different abilities and gradually increasing their strength. At this point, the goblins use group attacks to capture larger beasts and collectively gain status. With the little monster's devouring ability, the tribe gains many new abilities, raising their overall level to 18 and their total power to 250. Strategically, Linon conducts an analysis and concludes that each elf has about 200 strength. Thus, our protagonist states that the total power of the goblin tribe has already surpassed that of the elves overall. Being cautious because they are invading enemy territory, Linon decides to use the system to simulate an attack and analyze the results. After the boy's request, the goblin life simulation is initiated. Our boy leads the goblin army, which has had a great increase in strength, to attack the elves with great confidence. Due to Lin Tian's overconfidence, the group of little monsters falls into an ambush and all are trapped in a snare and finished off. Our protagonist is captured by the matriarch of the elves and hanged in the Forest of 1,000 Wonders as a warning to the other goblins. Summarizing, the system informs that Linon thought he had everything under control, but in reality, he was in the palm of his enemy's hands. In disbelief, the boy cannot believe this outcome after the simulation's information. At that moment, Linon realizes that the goblin tribe was being monitored all the time, which allowed the elves to set the ambush strategically. The new leader tells the soldiers that the little monsters have keen hearing and smell and asks everyone to focus on finding clues about the spy. Soon after, the boy is able to detect something hidden in the forest using his magical power. Our boy finds the spy behind a tree on a beautiful moonlit night. Without realizing that her location was identified, the princess and her soldiers retreat quickly, intending to inform the matriarch about a possible attack. Then several glowing arrows fly toward the fugitives. Surprisingly, one arrow hits the princess squarely in the buttocks. Kasana screams in desperation, unable to believe she was captured. Shortly after, she falls to the ground. Our beautiful princess is frightened to realize she is paralyzed by the arrow, as are her soldiers. While the goblins praise Linan for hitting an elf, concerned, our boy wonders if the prisoner's body looks strange due to the poison. Sarcastically, Linan tells the princess that he didn't think it would be so easy to capture them. Happy that the plan is going better than expected, our boy tells Kasana that they arrived at just the right time. Then the new goblin leader orders that all the elf prisoners be brought to him at the tribe's village. One of the little monsters yells to throw water on the elf, announcing that the boss has arrived. At this moment, we see Kasana completely debilitated. Linan approaches the princess and says that apparently, goblin body fluids have a special paralyzing and arousing effect on females, increasing their chances against the elves, which is a matriarchal society. Furious and very weak, the princess asks how filthy creatures dare capture her and even plan to attack the elven tribe. Kasana tells Linan that without the matriarch's mercy, all the goblins would have already been exterminated by the elves. If they harm her, her mother will not forgive them. Sarcastic and confident in his power, our boy mocks the princess. Then the reincarnated one throws Kasana to the ground, saying he found it interesting she talked about mercy. Linan then tells the princess that the elves she speaks of and those her subordinates talk about seem very different, and that her soldiers are stupid, but don't lie. At this moment, the boy tells Kasana that her tribe could have exterminated all the goblins in the forest, but many are still alive. He believes it is not due to mercy. Confident in victory, Linan tells the princess that she doesn't need to say anything else because tonight he will lead the goblin tribe to the elves to discover the truth. Our protagonist tells the soldiers they can divide the two prisoners that were finished off and devour their abilities. Then the leader of the little monsters looks at the princess and says what he intends to do with her, not imagining what was about to happen. Kasana becomes desperate, begging for mercy, but she will be the next to be subdued by the future goblin god. After playing with the princess, Linan's stats increase, granting him new abilities. Back at the elven tribe, it seems that the matriarch is insatiable, and her subjects beg for rest, saying they can no longer satisfy her due to the tonic running out. Then the mischievous queen says they should have captured more goblins the last time they went hunting. At that moment, the subjects appear exhausted from having to satisfy the matriarch's desires, while she asks another elf about Kasana. He informs her that she has not yet returned. The same soldier asks the tribe's mother, who wants them to search for her daughter and take the opportunity to finish off some goblins, increasing the warriors' levels. Concerned, the matriarch agrees with her subordinate, saying he will take some soldiers to support Kasana against the little monster tribe. Then someone arrives saying the queen's daughter will not return, leaving her terrified without knowing who it is. At that moment, in the darkness, Linan appears shooting arrows toward the queen. The matriarch's soldier is struck directly in the forehead. Desperate, the queen manages to catch the arrow before it hits her. Accompanied by his loyal soldiers, Linan tells the queen that he captured her daughter and that soon Kasana will bear his children. Sarcastic, our boy tells the matriarch that now they will be family. Brave, the queen seems unwilling to surrender easily and decides to grab a sword to defend her people. The matriarch asks Lin Tian what he did to her daughter. Then the boy mocks the queen once again. Enraged, the matriarch moves toward the boy, stating she will finish him off effortlessly. Dodging the attack of the shameless queen, Linan informs her that the elf tribe is already surrounded, and that if she surrenders, she might be treated well. Then the beautiful elven matriarch is paralyzed by the goblin's poison. Linan informs the queen that the arrow that hit her was coated with the little monster's fluid, which causes paralysis in elves, advising her to stay still. At that moment, the lustful matriarch realizes she was easily captured. Linan tells the queen that he heard her talk about upgrade tools and excitement tonics, discovering that this was the purpose of the goblins for the elves. Facing the blade of her future master, the matriarch believes she is now before the new leader of the little monster tribe, as mentioned by Kasana, whom she had dismissed. Next, the queen is frightened by the sounds of cries for help outside her treehouse. Linan tells her that the time to decide is running out. Then the boy leads the mother of the tribe to the window, showing her that he is not joking, and tells the matriarch that this is the time for them to discuss cooperation. That moment, the queen is incredulous at what is happening outside her chambers. The elves begin screaming, pleading with the mother of the tribe to save them, saying they don't want to be taken by the goblins. Leaving the matriarch increasingly desperate, furious, the queen asks Linen what he has done to her village. Boy informs her that at that moment, the little monsters are no longer weaker than the elves. Our boy tells the matriarch that when her tribe was strong, they would kill the goblins, and it's only natural that the little monsters would seek revenge when they became stronger. Then Linen says that he needs more strong goblin warriors, which is why he still needs the elves. And what will happen to them after they are used depends only on the attitude of the tribe's mother. Finally, the shameless queen surrenders. Begging for mercy, asking that her children be spared and allowed to live, the matriarch definitively kneels before Linon. Our beautiful queen agrees to stay and let her elf women help have children with the goblins, thus strengthening them now in the village of the little monsters. Cass Santa is devastated to see that even her mother was captured by the goblins, while the queen apologizes to her daughter for not believing in the possibility of their defeat. At that moment, the matriarch informs her that only when women and defenseless children remain to preserve the elf lineage. Then the queen says that all the elf women have already played with the goblins, calming her daughter. The matriarch says that from that moment on, they can only survive within the tribe of little monsters, being reasonable. Linen informs the queen and her daughter that he will take care of everyone, providing 3 meals a day. But if they have bad intentions, they should not blame him for being cruel and finishing them off, thinking about the well-being of her tribe. The matriarch responds that she understands the message. Next, the queen tells Linon that she has a request to make, saying that all of them are her children and asking the boy if she could take care of them. At that moment, Lou appears struggling to care for so many elf and goblin children. Linon understands that the matriarch behaves this way due to the infinite maternal love, ATT tribute, that elves possess. Lou calls the tribe leader, saying she cannot take care of all those children alone. Then Linon decides to grant the matriarch's request and lets her care for the elf children, knowing that those babies would bring considerable strength to the tribe in the future. Aiming to strengthen himself, our boy uses the system to view the status, analyzing the statistics. Linon wonders if his qualification has already been unlocked to the highest level, because recently the values he obtained were converted into attributes. At that moment, our boy concludes that now he only needs to continue having children to directly increase his power. Looking at his tribe and seeing that everything is going as planned, Linon is certain that his current strength is already enough to finally defeat lower. Gradually, more elf babies with goblin-like appearances are being born. However, the elf women feel disgusted after the birth of their children, asking for those terrifying little monsters to be taken away from them. Our boy asks Lou, how many babies have been born so far? And the girl responds that it is between 30 and 40. Then Casa appears desperate and in great pain. Linon seems concerned because the princess is pregnant with his child. Quickly, our boy approaches the girl, who screams in pain from childbirth, while the queen tries to help her daughter, begging the princess not to give up, desperate and fearing for the life of her firstborn. The matriarch pleads with Linon to help the girl give birth, as this is her first time having a baby, with the intention of helping and also concerned for the well-being of the princess and her child. The boy asks Lou to open the princess's legs, seeing that the boy was about to help her daughter stop suffering. The matriarch asks him if he really knows how to deliver a baby, and he replies that he knows enough. However, Casa, not believing that Linon is capable of helping her, says she does not want him to touch her. Then our boy, irritated with the girl, orders her to shut up, saying that the children are his. To finally, the boy successfully delivers the baby, informing them that the princess is fine after helping with the birth of the babies. Lou praises Linon for being incredible in saving Casa's life, but the boy humbly says it was no big deal. Then something catches the couple's attention as they hear screams coming from another cage. Linon finds the goblins in a frenzy over an elf who was asking for help because she had just given birth. At that moment, something unexpected happens, holding his dagger and accompanied by the matriarch. Linon quickly goes to the cage where the goblins were trying to take the elf by force and orders them to stop. Our boy says they must wait until the females fully recover, otherwise they will face the consequences. At that moment, the boy orders that from now on, each elf will receive an extra portion of fruit beyond the usual amount, impressed by Linon's actions. The matriarch says he really is different from common goblins, and he replies that the better they behave, the better their treatment will be. Once again, our boy decides to use the simulation to visualize how his revenge plan would unfold. After that moment, then he is informed that after much effort, Linon conquered the tribe of elves and impregnated all the elf women who gave birth to goblins with stronger attributes. Next, seeing the increase in the village members, the boy decides to seek revenge against Lower and the others, and He infiltrates Bright Town alone and locates the group. After the simulations, the system offers 3 options to our boy, each with different scores evaluated after completion. Lennon wonders if he really found them and recalls that his current strength is nearly the same as Lower's, and he cannot underestimate his companions, believing that his current attributes allow him to easily defeat Lower. Our boy decides to test option 1 of the simulation, which is to act alone against the enemies. Then, the system informs him that Lennon finally finds Lower and almost finishes him off, but at that moment the captain's master appears. Unfortunately, the human sword saint saves Lower, and the boy is finished off by his enemy's savior, after which the group returns to the capital and is never seen again. In summary, when facing the sword saint, there was no chance of escape, and Lennon realizes he will need to be more cautious from that moment on. At this moment, the boy is perplexed by the information obtained from the simulation, trying to understand why such a powerful force would appear in such a small place. Then Lennon looks at the matriarch and is increasingly convinced that he needs to hurry with his maximum strengthening. Our boy sees no other way and decides to act. Lennon informs Lou that he needs to go to human territory for a few days and she will be responsible for the tribe. But the queen is worried in case the boy gets killed. Then the leader tells the matriarch that she knows about his feud with the humans, and unexpectedly the elf mother informs the boy that she could cast a stealth spell on him. Satisfied, Lennon tells the queen that this is exactly what he was hoping she would say, and he is excited about his allies' spontaneous help. Our boy tells the matriarch that he didn't expect her to care about his safety, and she says she is only afraid that if he dies, the goblins will be left without a leader thinking about the welfare of her people. The queen reminds Lennon that all his children are in that village, and that if he returns alive, everyone will be safe. Lou, accompanied by the matriarch, tells our boy that she will take good care of the tribe and his absence while the boy heads toward his goal. Now in Bright Town, the people walk calmly as some soldiers patrol the area. It seems to be a patrol team ensuring the security of the area upon witnessing so many soldiers guarding the city. Lennon wonders if the Sword Saint has already arrived. However, our boy remembers that he spent the entire day gathering information and heard no news about her. Our protagonist finds all this patrolling strange. Then Lennon notices that some people are heading to the same place quickly. The boy goes there. Then he finds people looking at the ranking of adventurer teams in the Bright City. At this moment, we see Lower is at the top of the leaderboard. Lennon wonders if Lord Lower has progressed in strength to be ranked first among adventurers. Our boy sees that he needs to hurry and find more clues, otherwise his revenge plan will fail while passing by a tavern. The boy hears someone saying that everyone can drink on him and that they will drink until they can't anymore. Then something catches the boy's attention, and he stops quickly, recognizing that voice, satisfied for finally having found his target. Our boy smiles upon entering the tavern. Lennon sees Lower drinking, as if he had no worries at this moment. One of Lower's companions begins praising him for, along with Freya, saving him from the four-armed monkey, and the woman emphasizes how incredible the captain is. Then a member of the Bashi team tells the man that it is ridiculous to brag about something as small as such a weak little monster. Furious, Lower's companion orders the guy to leave and stop talking nonsense like two children. The Bashi member tells the man that even though he is on a hero team, he will still beat him up. Impatient, the tavern owner says that recently the dragons entered mating season and are capturing livestock, and if they are as strong as they claim, they should stop it. At that moment, this information grabs Lennon's attention, who was drinking discreetly. Then the man reinforces that if the evil dragons attack Bright City and the capital doesn't send reinforcements in time, the adventurers won't be able to repel the horde's attacks, meaning everyone is about to face darkness. Confident, Lower decides to say that there is nothing to fear because he personally called his master the Sword Saint, and together they will unite forces against the dragons and defeat them. All the warriors in the tavern are astonished by the captain's claims, for he has so much influence with someone so powerful. Euphoric with the information, the soldiers begin to praise Lower, saying that if they succeed, he will be named the hero of Bright City. Then the captain stands up, saying that he will offer drinks to everyone present as a pre-celebration for the arrival of the saint and for eliminating the dragons. After hearing all that information, our boy sees an opportunity to strike at his enemies using the arrival of the beasts in the city and leaves the place. Lower, seeing the boy leaving the tavern even after he offered to pay for all the drinks, asks the boy if he won't stay to drink. Objective and direct, our boy responds that he will not. He coldly tells Lower that there will be more opportunities in the future. Then the captain finds it strange that someone would refuse free drinks. Bright City is fully decorated, awaiting the arrival of the Sword Saint. At this moment, we see Lower approaching his master, who is meditating in a temple. Then the captain informs the Sword Saint that the distance the evil dragon is hovering is getting closer and will likely attack the city soon. After Lower's statements, his master grabs her weapon and begins to stand up. Then the Sword Saint asks her disciple how the task she gave him is going. Lower responds that the dragon-hunting beasts were made according to his master's plans, and she tells him that if something goes wrong, it will be his reputation on the line. Upon leaving the temple, the captain and the saint are met by a crowd who are amazed to be in the presence of someone so majestic and powerful. Thinking strategically, the master tells Lower that this is a special moment and asks why everyone is standing around and orders them to prepare for battle. Then, as predicted, something approaches Bright City. A huge flying beast appears, already holding a resident in its claws. While everyone runs desperately, the saint then informs them that it is a scout dragon. At that moment, the master says that when it appears, it soon attracts the entire horde of dragons and orders Lower to take his companions and follow her to the walls. Soon after, a goblin approaches our boy, informing him that a dragon has arrived. In the city, the little monster tells the leader that he went to check and saw many soldiers on the wall asking what they should do. Cold and calculating, our boy informs them that the time to attack their enemies is almost upon them, but for now, they will wait. Like a true strategist, our boy, alongside his many high-level goblins, says it is time to enjoy the show. At that moment, several dragons head directly toward the shining city. However, unexpectedly, a beam of light strikes one of the flying beasts directly on the wing. Lower and Afra are shocked to witness what those weapons are capable of. Then the Sword Saint, after hitting the dragon and demonstrating how to use the ballista, asks the soldier if he understands how to use it. Next, all the soldiers prepare to attack the dragons using the weapons provided by their master. Quickly, the flying beasts start falling one by one, struck by the ballista. At this moment, the warriors begin celebrating how efficient those weapons are against the dragons. But then something catches everyone's attention. Something seemingly very powerful is approaching the shining city, and people fall to the ground saying their heads hurt terribly. Lower and Afra are terrified, seemingly knowing which monster is coming. Finally, we see the golden and purple mother, dragon. While the soldiers are left in shock, stating that those weapons won't be enough to defeat her with her eyes fixed on the city, the beast appears furious. Then the mother of dragons prepares to launch a powerful attack. Quickly, the immense beast releases a blast of fire against the wall. At that moment, all the soldiers using the dragon-slaying ballista start running, saying the city will fall. But something unexpected happens. A powerful magic circle appears, and someone asks them not to panic. Then the Sword Saint steps in, declaring that she herself will fight the mother dragon, and orders everyone else to continue defending the city. Surprisingly, the master creates an enormous protective field using the magic of her sword. At that moment, we see that the barrier created by the saint not only protected the city from the mother dragon's attack, but also prevented the other beasts from attacking the wall. Our boy, cautious and waiting for the right moment to strike, watches the battle from atop a mountain. He isn't surprised that the saint managed to defend the city from the mother dragon's attack given her stats. However, he admires the immense power that the massive beast demonstrated upon arriving and attacking the city. At that moment, our boy examines the impressive stats of the Sword Saint and discovers why she was able to neutralize the mother dragon's attack without much difficulty. Then our boy emphasizes that Lower's master is indeed very powerful and feels relieved that it won't be necessary to fight her for his revenge. Our boy states that the mother dragon is weaker than the saint but has superior endurance. He says that even though the master managed to strike the beast with her sword, she won't be able to defeat her easily. Seeing that the saint is occupied fighting the mother dragon, our boy says this is the golden opportunity he had been waiting for. Determined, our boy declares that the chance to finally take revenge on the human race has arrived and orders the goblins to follow the plan to infiltrate the city while the capital is being invaded by dragons. They have no idea another danger is lurking. Lower says those flying beasts are difficult to deal with, but he thanks his master's teaching, stating that thanks to his teacher, he is now a dragon slayer. Then, to Lower's surprise, a resident arrives running frantically, shouting that the goblins are invading the city. At this moment, we see the captain's team fighting the dragons, and Lower emphasizes that the little monsters are stupid, but he doesn't believe they are foolish enough to attack the capital. Then, to the brave Lower's surprise, another resident appears running with several goblins chasing her. Finally, upon seeing the little monsters, the captain finds himself in trouble. Acting like a true hero, Lower orders his companions to handle the remaining dragons while he and Afra deal with the goblins. At this moment, we see a little monster fleeing as he spots the capital's heroes coming toward him. Furious, Lower shouts for the little monsters not to run away. However, it seems the goblins had planned that unusual retreat. Then finally, Lower and Afra are captured by the little monsters following our boy's plan. In an attempt to free them, the captain's companions shout that they are coming to save him, but they can't get close due to the number of goblins surrounding them. Unexpectedly, the vengeful our boy arrives unnoticed in the middle of the battle. Lower tries to warn them of the danger approaching from behind, but before the warriors can defend themselves, our boy swiftly finishes them off with his super sharp dagger. At that moment, Lower and the Sword Maiden are left in despair, witnessing a goblin defeat their companions with such agility. Sarcastically, our boy approaches the two prisoners, mocking them, saying he couldn't believe they were captured so easily. Brave and furious at seeing his warriors being defeated, Lower yells that he will finish off all the filthy goblins. However, our boy kicks the captain, telling him to take a better look around and stop talking nonsense. Then our boy orders the little monsters to take Lower and Afra through the sewers and out of the city, while the rest follow them to the walls to destroy the crossbowmen. In the midst of a battle against the Dragon Mother, the Sword Saint hears cries for help coming from the capital and can't believe the goblins are attacking. At that moment, the immense and dark beast mocks Lower's master, saying they are in trouble. At that moment, the Dragon Mother and the Sword Saint are engaged in an exhausting battle. Demonstrating her power and mocking the queen of the beasts, Lower's master asks if she is having difficulty and attacks her fiercely, putting her in danger. Dominating the battle, the saint says the Dragon Mother is practically defeated and wonders if the warriors have already dealt with the dragons and goblins. Then a massive explosion occurs at the wall. All that chaos in the city catches the attention of the saint, and the Dragon Mother, who is about to be defeated, says the little monsters arrived at a good time. Noticing that the savior of Brighttown is distracted, the queen of the dragons quickly flees. As she escapes, the mother of the beasts tells the saint that when she recovers, she won't forgive her, leaving the powerful warrior furious for allowing that enormous beast to escape, filled with anger for not being able to finish off the Dragon Queen. The savior of Brighttown says that sooner or later she will go to the Dragon Island and eliminate them all. After all the chaos in the city comes to an end, the saint returns to the ground, irritated to see that Lower and his group weren't even able to eliminate simple goblins. Then one of the warriors informs the city's savior that the captain and Afra were captured by the little monsters. Next, the Sword Saint is incredulous after hearing the information. The warrior tells his savior that those goblins were not normal. At that moment, a member of the captain's group tells the saint that the little monsters were as strong as the great races, and not even Lower could defeat them. Furious and thinking about rescuing her warriors, the city's savior declares that she will go to the enchanted forest to exterminate all the goblins. However, a local resident grabs the saint's arm, begging her to stay in the city, because if the dragons or the little monsters return to attack, they will be finished. Then everyone starts begging the savior to stay, saying they are citizens of the temple and the empire, with the residents that she should protect, and in comparison to a member of the heroes group, because that is her real responsibility. Back at the Goblin village, everyone starts celebrating upon seeing that the tribe's leader has returned. The little monsters of the tribe are astonished to see that our boy has returned with human prisoners. Without mercy, the Holy Maiden is thrown to the ground. At that moment, one of our boy's soldiers orders the prisoners not to cause any trouble. Lower is surprised to see that the goblins had captured several elves. Meanwhile, a frog comments that she believes there is a hero in that tribe. Lower asks his companion if she has already recovered, and the girl responds that the poison in her body is strong, but her sacred constitution will soon be complete. Upon hearing Afra talk about her powers, our boy sneaks up, mocking the girl, saying he did not imagine she could recover so quickly. At that moment, the girl enters a state of despair, asking our boy how he knows her name and what his intentions are in capturing them. With a dark look, our boy approaches the Holy Maiden with deep hatred in his heart. Our boy digs his claws into the girl's thigh. Next, Afra screams desperately in pain while Lower watches helplessly. Then the captain yells at our boy to stop torturing his companion, but upon yelling at the leader of the goblin tribe, the brave Lower is struck by a little monster. Furious with our boy, the captain asks him if he is aware of the consequences of capturing them, warning that the Sword Saint will find them and exterminate them. Confident, our boy says that Lower's master will also become his prey, and that he is just waiting for the right moment. Even if she tries to find them, she never will. Continuing with his plans, our boy informs the Goblin Kwang that he will be responsible for everyone from the second generation, and orders them to go to the forest to hunt some monsters. Certain that he would be hunted by humans, our boy decides to hasten his evolution and conduct an interrogation with Lower. Pressing his foot on his chest, our boy asks the captain if they enjoy capturing goblins and torturing them in secret as they did to him in another life. Lower then seems unaware of what our boy is talking about, but our boy gets irritated and says the captain is responding too slowly and decides to take action. With great hatred in his heart, our boy cuts off his enemy's ear, and Lower curses him, saying it hurts a lot. Consumed by rage, the captain tells our boy that everything they do is to protect the human race, and that their duty is to exterminate goblins, which are cursed creatures. Sarcastically, our boy mocks Lower's statements, saying they probably hunt the little monsters to increase the hero group's stats. Demonstrating that he knows them well, our boy says that finishing off prisoners along with the monsters is easier than saving them, and he asks how many humans have already died because of this so-called justice. At that moment, Lower seems truly surprised by our boy's accusations. Afra, already very weakened, is also incredulous, wondering how a simple goblin knows so much about what they do. Completely consumed by hatred, our boy tells the two of them that, unlike them, he does not need to pretend. And because he is an evil creature, he will teach his enemies a lesson. Practically powerless, Afraya begs Lower to save her. At that moment, the girl starts pleading for mercy. Lower falls into despair as he watches his companion being tortured. Then our boy tells the saintly maiden that at this moment he will return. Her own words to her, and that the lesson is only just beginning. He tells her she better hold on tight. Our boy then grabs the prisoner by the neck and says he wants her captain to watch what will be done to her. Darkly, our boy hands Afra over to the goblins and says he wants to see how much she can endure after being tortured by them all. At that moment, Lower is in disbelief, realizing he will be forced to watch his companion be tortured without being able to help her. Then all the little monsters begin to approach the saintly maiden as the leader had ordered. Afterward, a goblin arrives, telling another that it is now his turn to guard the prisoner. The little monster who had been the guardian informs him that our boy ordered her to be kept alive. At that moment, we see how weakened Afra became after all the torture, and the guard says she is still fine as ordered. Lower asks his companion to hold on, and the very weak girl tells the captain that he does not need to worry because she is not suffering. Then the prisoner is reprimanded by the guard, who says he has no right to speak, pressing his head down with his foot. Meanwhile, as the Queen of the Elves takes care of her baby, she asks her daughter if our boy truly holds a grudge against humans, and the girl emphasizes that they are indeed in trouble. Upon hearing the elven mother's doubts, Lu arrives, informing her that the boy had already mentioned that he would take revenge on humans, and for this reason he likely does hold a grudge. Fascinated by our boy, the Queen of the Elves highlights how determined he is, and that he never lets an offense go unanswered, which is why he is the most special goblin she has ever seen. The elf blushes and thinks that even in that regard he is powerful, and it felt strange to her as if she wanted to be conquered by him even more. Meanwhile, in another location, a goblin is talking to our boy, informing him that the second generation, elves who went hunting, have returned. They had returned earlier than expected and were carrying multiple prey on their backs. The frantic goblin informs the chief that they were back. He is at level 33 and already has a tribute so developed that they almost match those of our boy. He is impressed. Our boy asks why they returned so early. Was the hunt that successful? He says they killed all the monsters nearby and could only go west in the forest, but they found goblins massacring other tribes. Our boy asks which tribe in the west was being massacred by the larger goblins. Another goblin says it was the Blood Fawn tribe. When they divided the teams to find monsters, they ended up finding several tribes with their mark. Our boy finds it interesting that all of them are large goblins. Capturing their leader would be excellent for the resistance plan against the humans. The captured captain starts laughing, calling them fools. Did they still dare to dream they would be swiftly defeated by the knights? Our boy turns and says that if he had not opened his mouth, he would not have even remembered the existence of humans. The goblins approach the captain, but our boy says there was still another human there. The captain desperately asks what they were planning. A goblin is grabbing the human's face by the mouth, saying that finally it was his turn, and the human skin was too soft, making the captain desperate. Avaya is silent, forced to watch the entire scene. A few hours later, the captain is exhausted, lying face down, practically unconscious. Night falls, and a goblin asks our boy if they are going to attack the big goblin's tribe, to which he confirms that they are, and that they will capture their leader. He even had a new name for the tribe, Sky Mad Tribe. The goblins start shouting and celebrating, calling him powerful. The tribe now has a name, and they start chanting it incessantly. Chanting it incessantly, an elf says they must be very strong since they defeated so many tribes, but our boy says not to worry because he has confidence and still has a trump card he hasn't used yet. With that statement, we see Evia tied up and nearly fully unclothed. The next day, our boy is watching from somewhere with a very good view. He could see everything perfectly. It was time to see their power. He was aiming at the Bloodfang tribe in the enchanted forest. There were indeed many large goblins, but he thought it was possible to deal with all of them. He sees the leader approaching and notices that the goblins seem very afraid. In fact, it was impressive. The leader of the Bloodfang tribe was a goblin, Hero. Our boy notices that he doesn't seem that powerful. With a combat power of 900, a dozen goblins would be enough for him, but capturing him alive would be difficult. The paralyzing poison wouldn't be as effective on someone as big as him, so he would have to think of another solution. He speculates that if he could use the imprisonment magic that Evia used on him on that guy, then it might work. He decides to go see her. Back at the Sky M tribe, a goblin approaches and says he did as ordered. The human was almost done. Our boy congratulates the goblin on a job well done. The girl begs to be freed from sight, saying she would redeem herself before the Lord. Our boy wipes her wounds with a warm cloth, and she asks who he is, not yet looking back. When she turns and sees him, she starts screaming for him not to come closer. Trembling, she screams that she was going insane, that he was a demon, and that she felt so much pain. Our boy slaps her face, grabs her by the back, and gives her a hug, saying that the punishment is over. She cries, asking if it's true. He pulls away from the hug, saying that he keeps his word, but she needs to choose her belief. She asks what belief, and he replies that it is to choose between believing in God or believing in him becoming his pet and escaping the endless pain. He says this while caressing the top of her head, and she trembles. Evia had already made her decision, as the next moment she takes a deep breath and begins to lick our boy's fingers. He says, "Very well, Evia," while caressing her face. Our boy says that from now on, he will be her only master and she will be called his little pet. Evia is on all fours, barking and calling him her master. He picks her up and takes her to a hot spring. He removes her clothes and bathes her. The pleasure of the bath makes her say she will do anything for him because he is kind to her. He says that's perfect, continuing to bathe her. Then our boy says he wants to see Evia use the Holy Light Prison ability. She asks what that is. He shows her a book after the bath, and she asks if the Holy Prison is what's in it. Evia focuses, begins to pray, and her body levitates slightly as she begins channeling the power. Then a gigantic prison appears before her. Our boy is impressed by Evia's power. They are walking through the tribe's prison. The captain senses their presence while he's imprisoned and starts yelling for Evia to attack our boy and heal his body as soon as possible. Our boy says she surrendered to him willingly. The captain doesn't believe it. She was the daughter of the holy church leader and wouldn't give in so easily. Our boy commands her to kneel and says she's doing all this of her own free will. She obeys, immediately kneeling and smiling at him. The captain becomes desperate upon seeing this scene. He leans against the bars, grinning and drooling with rage, saying that his actions will make the goblin race disappear from the world. The sole purpose of the goblin race's existence was to be exterminated by humans. The holy church would eliminate them all. Our boy didn't expect this to be Evia's identity, so he thanks the captain for this information and orders the goblins to give him plenty of trouble. He calls Evia to leave now. It was time to take care of other business. They are leaving, and our boy says they will take control of the Bloodfang tribe. Already at the place where the tribe is hiding, a goblin is talking to the chief, reporting that everything is ready. He is trembling with fear in front of the leader. The chief stands up, saying they will attack the tribe to the south. They will capture all the elves and have fun with them. The goblins start to get excited, shouting about their chief's power. Someone yells for the chief, saying a goblin invaded the tribe and is looking for him. The chief turns, asking where this inferior goblin came from. Our boy approaches, saying he is a heroic-level Bloodfang goblin with intelligence similar to humans, and he's there to talk to him. Some goblins ask if he's some kind of mutant, but he says no, he's just a bit smarter than regular goblins. But it's not time for idle chatter. He is the leader of the Sky Mad tribe and is taking their chief with him. For the other goblins, there were only two options: submit to him or die. The chief asks if our boy is the head of the tribe that breeds elves. Our boy says his genes are good and invites him to come along. The hero goblin calls him an idiot and, shouting for him to shut up, grabs our boy's entire head with one hand. He lifts our boy by the head, saying he didn't expect him to come to him. When he's done with our boy, everyone in the tribe will be his. The goblins start chanting for the chief to crush our boy, but our boy, unfazed, says the conversation is useless. If he didn't want to capture the Bloodfang tribe chief alive, he would have already finished him off. Our boy cuts off the goblin's hand with a somersault strike, and he cries out in despair. The chief falls to the ground, clutching his arm, and ordering his followers to destroy our boy. The goblins charge at him to avenge their chief, and our boy snaps his fingers, ordering them to leave. A knife pierces through the chest of a Bloodfang goblin. The goblins of the Sky Mad tribe begin to appear from their invisibility ability. The enemy asks how that is possible without making any noise. Our boy's servant says it's due to the silent step skill and shouts to destroy all the Bloodfang goblins, as it was an order from the chief. The enemies become desperate. Several warrior goblins had appeared, and everyone there had fallen into our boy's trap. He had used the negotiations to make them vulnerable, drawing all attention to himself. The goblins were no match for the chief, so he could escape without any issues. But even while escaping, he shouts that he has to kill our boy first, then charges forward to punch him. Our boy stands with his arms crossed and simply says Evia's name. She then begins to cast the Sacred Light Prison. A radiant cage appears, imprisoning the goblin hero and leaving him confused. It was a light spell, and goblins couldn't use light magic. Enraged, he witnesses a scene that shocks him. Evia is at our boy's feet calling him master. He praises her, saying she was a good girl and had grown even stronger after joining his side. She begins to thank him for the compliments. Some time passes, and we see the goblin hero chained with light magic calling our boy a scoundrel, while our boy tells him to be a good breeder. Back at the tribe, the goblin chief is chained to a rock, and our boy says that taming him took quite some effort. Cleaning his knife, he says he's finished, and now the goblin poses no threat. The captain is impressed by the capture of a goblin hero, and wonders how he managed such a feat. Our boy speaks with Lua and tells her to let the other goblins handle the artificial insemination task. She should just supervise, and she agrees. He hands Evia over to Lua, saying that she's now under her care, and Lua agrees. He tells the elf queen to help him get ready because he's going to meet a friend. She confirms if it's really a friend, and he says yes, it's a very important friend. Judging by Lode's arrogance, human forces would arrive soon, and they might not be able to face them. So it was time to visit the Dragon Mother. The Dragon Island was far away, and the fastest way to reach it was to lure a dragon over there. Our boy had left several dead oxen on the seashore to attract a dragon. It would soon appear with all that smell of blood. He was hidden inside one of the oxen, just like Luke Skywalker sheltering from the cold. The dragon grabs the oxen with its claws and lifts off, heading back to the Dragon Island. The dragon was traveling at full speed, then throws the oxen it captured into a pit. The oxen hit the ground, and somehow our boy didn't end up as ground meat. He emerges from the carcasses and realizes that dragons don't hunt just for themselves, but now he only needs to find the Dragon Mother. Then something approaches him from behind, saying there was something strange mixed in with the food, startling our boy.